If you like gardening and you have trees and bushes that grow a bit out of control, you would then prune them to sort of tame them back into shape. We can do the same thing with our WordPress theme. All the files that we have in there, we don't necessarily need. So by default, our theme has various different ways that it can show us our website. So whether we're looking at an individual post, a page, maybe some comments, or even archive pages for various dates and categories, we can have a specific template that gets used for those views. Now our website is just this index.php, so there's a lot we can get rid of to just trim our theme file down and only use the bits that we need. So it's going to be nice because we will then have less things to worry about, and we don't need to ask so many questions about what does this actually do. We're just going to be having the files that we use and nothing more. So just to give you an overview of what some of these theme files are actually doing, I'm going to go into the admin. And the first one that we have at the bottom here, if we go from bottom up, is single.php. And this is the file that gets used when we look at an individual post. So if you go to your posts and then just view one like this single.php is getting used. So this just takes a single post and puts it on the page for us. So we don't have any styling here. We've also got the comment box, but we don't actually need this. We don't want them to be able to view individual menu items. They're all going to be on the home page. So if we delete this file and refresh the page, it goes to the home page. So when it can't find a single.php, it goes back to the home page. And for some reason, we've got just one post here. Oh, that's because we're on this URL. We'll talk about how we can redirect this later. But essentially, when we go to visit a single post, confusing here, it is just pulling in one individual post, which is what we see there. So if we change this to be fish cake, we're just going to see fish cake. So later on, we'll make it so that our users can't go to these URLs. They'll just redirect to the home page. Cool, so that's the view for the single.php sidebar. We're not using this, so we can delete that. Sidebar is pretty much what it says on the tin. It's just a little sidebar that we can chuck on the side. If we go to widgets under appearance, it's this editable area here, and we can put all kinds of things in there. It's not something we're really going to use. It's a pretty old school web type feature, but it can come in handy for certain things. So we don't want our sidebar. We can get rid of that. Search.php. Now this is what happens if you go to a URL that can't be found. So if we go to some sort of gibberish, it says, oops, that page can't be found. And then it has this search box. So that's all that, that's all that page does. Search.php, it just gives us a search form. So we can delete that one. You can already see how this is trimming down a bit. Oh, it still gets the search box. So I think search is actually the results of the search. Yeah, so if we do a search, the results page would have been that search.php. We don't need that. RTL.css. Now this is for right to left languages. So languages like Arabic, which we are not supporting at the moment. So we're just doing English and Korean. So right to left.css, it's there if you want to build languages that go from right to left. We can delete that one. Page.php. Now, if we had a page on our site, sample page, this is the template that gets used. You can see when you don't take care of your template files, they can look pretty terrible. So right now there's no styles controlling the width of this page. We've got our heading in there, but yeah, doesn't look too great. And that's a sidebar there, I think. For some reason it's still showing, but what we can do there is to delete that. So when we delete that and then we refresh, we get our home page again. So it's kind of going back, but it's doing this funny thing here where our first post is our page content. This is something we'll take care of later on. What else do we have? We have our index.php, which we want to keep because that's a required file, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Header.php, we want to keep that, obviously. That's all our structure for our heading and general page. Functions, want to be keeping that. Footer, yes as well. Comments, now these are the comments that you can enable or disable on posts and pages. We're going to delete that. We don't want comments on this website. Archive, what is archive? Well, if we go to our posts, categories, this is what's called the archive view. So we can view our posts that are all in a certain category, and we can also view posts that are in a certain date. So if I go to the date here and I take off, I just go /2018, it will show me all the posts for a year 2014, all the posts in the month of April. So I added 2 there. How many did I add in May? I added the other 4. So these are archive views. You can, if you have a lot of posts on your website, you can view them by the date, as granular as even the day. So I think if I go 0430, yep, so 30th, I added these first 2, and that's how this archive view works. Creates a loop based on the URL, what you currently want to get, and it will show it to you. So it can do categories and dates primarily. It also does tags, but we don't have any tags off on our posts to show off. So archive, we don't want that. So see you later, archive. What do we have next? We have the 404. So this file here. This is when something isn't found. Now this we're going to get rid of as well. We're just going to make it so that any page that isn't the home page will get redirected. So you see there, it says page not found, but we're looking at the home page template. And also nothing found for our loop. So these are things that we need to keep in mind to fix later on. What else do we have? We have this layouts folder, which is just some CSS for our page and for our sidebar. We can get rid of this layouts folder. We're not using that. And that is pretty much it. So you can see now we've taken about half of the stuff out, and we're now using only the things that we need. Now, how did I figure out what I needed? Well, based on what we've been doing already, and also using these 2 links here, I googled what are the required theme files in WordPress. And I got this link here, the developer documentation, which is on the WordPress website. Really, really excellent. It told me I need a style.css, an index.php. Oh, I do need a comments.php. So I'll go and add that one back in, and a screenshot.png. So I think that the comments is not actually required if you disable them. So if we go to settings, discussion, and we just disable all these comments. Save that. So just untick all these boxes in discussion. Comments will no longer be enabled. So we don't really want to keep a file in there that we're just not going to be using. And if you want to go a bit more in depth, there's something called the template hierarchy, which is a way of us being able to name files that they can essentially be used by WordPress for whatever we're currently looking at on the page. And it works a bit like this. I have this massive diagram of how various different file names will get prioritized before eventually going to the index.php. So at the lowest level, we have search.php, 404, page, single, archive. And when it can't find those, it goes just to the index. So index is always required. But then you have things like author, so you can create pages for particular authors, individual categories, particular dates, tags. But when it can't find these files, it defers to the archive.php. And this diagram, although it's quite a big one, it's pretty clear to follow. If you've ever taken a tube in London or a subway in New York, this will be a piece of cake to follow. Essentially, we can name our files in certain ways and they'll get used when they match. So if we have a tag which has a certain name, we can make a specific template file for that. I'm just thinking if I can do a very quick example. Yeah, let's create a tag. I think that'd be an easy example. So tag, let's create hashtag goals, slug goals. So we're going to make a template tag called tag goals.php. Then I believe I can just say h1 WordPress goals, hashtag WordPress, hashtag goals. And then if we go to our site, so I got this tag goals, then I go to tags goals, maybe, or can I just view this? There we go. So it now uses this template file, and all we get is just this h1. So we're currently not getting the header. So if I do php get header, oops, header, and then also get footer. There we go. So we get our content in the middle there. So this is how you can create specific tags. If I created a new tag that was called something else, let's just call it Lawrence tag about Lawrence. Cool. So if we go and view Lawrence now, you can see it goes back to the home page. So using the template hierarchy, what's happening is it said tag ID. Does it match? No, it's only got one for goals. So it goes to tag.php, which doesn't exist, goes to archive.php, which doesn't exist, and then it goes all the way back to that index.php that we see here. So from that, we've just pruned down our theme files. We've kind of slimmed down our folder using only the bits that we need. So it's important to realize we don't always need to use all the things that WordPress gives us. And in doing that, we've explored some of the template hierarchy and what actually some of these files do. So I'm going to delete my tag goals file here, and I'm going to delete these in here. Cool. So that's going to now take you back to the home page. So this is how templates work and the files, and how it goes from various ones back through to the index.php. So in our next video, we'll do a bit more CSS. We're going to look at our header here, how we can make that fit nicely on smaller screens.